If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know I'm a root cause girl at heart. And when we dive into what makes us function, you get right down to our mitochondria. They are like the battery pack for our cells. That means they're our power source. And don't you want to do a little house cleaning on your power source? MitoPure by Timeline contains a rare postbiotic urothalin A, and it works by promoting a process of cellular cleanup that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria. MitoPure's own testing has shown improvements in energy levels, recovery time, endurance, and more. Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/hotflash. That's timeline.com/hotflash. Hi, welcome to the Hot Flash Inc. podcast. This is a solo edition. I'm doing this because I just have this roundup of things I want to say. And also because I got two text messages, and I've realized that if you text message, I don't have to feel bad if I can't write back. There is no mechanism. It's a privacy thing. So I can respond to you here. So please, if you're listening, do send me a text message. I was listening to a podcast I like called the All In Podcast this week. And it's like a business podcast. It's all these tech guys. Makes you feel like you're really in the loop. But they were like super pissing me off because this has nothing to do with anything. But they were talking about how to be an accredited investor and invest in private companies. You have to show that you have this certain amount of income and you have $1 million in assets. And one of them was arguing that there should be a test and for the average individual to be able to do this. And the others were arguing that we're all too stupid and it would be too dangerous. And I wanted to write to them and say, hey, some of us are in the middle. So if you write to me, I just want you to know it doesn't have to be like, Anne Marie, I love you, even though I'm going to tell you a text that's to that effect. This text came in from Canada. That's a pretty big location. We need more of these quick listening chats just to lift that perimenopause cloud that makes us feel so alone some days. You put a smile on my face with your relatable stories, like I just had a chat since I was nodding and laughing out loud or saying my side of that relatable story at the same time, end brackets, with a friend over coffee. Absolute gem. Cheers to drinks and desserts. I don't know what I said about drinks and desserts, but I love them. And thank you. Thank you for writing that in. That makes me so happy. And sometimes when I record these, I think it's just me blathering on. And is there any point to this? But I do know that there's two podcasters I absolutely love. They're not in this midlife space at all. One is Heather McMahon, and she's someone I came across on Instagram during COVID. I love her podcast because she just talks and she's so entertaining. And Theo Vaughn, who's a comedian who I absolutely love, like just a gentle Southerner. I also, when I see he's dropped a solo podcast, I drop everything and go for a walk and listen. I just wanted to say thank you for your text. Now, I got another text. It starts out saying, hi, I just want to thank you for your podcast. Thank you for listening. This is coming from Florida, Zephyr Hills, Florida. Now, this person goes on to say, I am a 55-year-old woman. I'm going to stop right there. I read this and I was like, oh, she's writing to me. She's a 55-year-old woman. That's the reaction I had. The next morning when I woke up, I was laying in bed thinking for way too long, which is a habit of mine. And I thought to myself, you're turning 55 in 3 months. This is not some granny wrote to you. This is a person who is your age. I thought about it all day and all the next day because honestly, my reaction to I am a 55-year-old woman was like, this is someone my mother's age writing to me. My mother's not with us anymore. She died when she was 53. And I think just anyone my age is my mother's age. And then I started thinking about it on a deeper level, and maybe it's really obvious, but I've had a pretty big awakening through menopause and through losing my father. And I'm really convinced that we're souls having a physical experience. I know a lot of people say that, but I'm really more convinced of it than ever. And this like fear I had of dying is whisked away. And I really think that all the fear and the intense focus on physical health that we hear in the podcasting sphere, the obsession everyone has with Dr. Peter Attia and Andrew Huberman. You must read the New York article about Andrew Huberman. He's done a lot for health, but he's also got a lot of time for the ladies. You know what I'm saying? Quite illuminating. But I digress. I am more convinced I have than ever. And I have seen a couple of people die now. And after someone dies, it's so obvious. And I'm sorry to be, if you think that's morbid, but it's just a reality. My soul literally is immortal. My soul has no age. She has no idea how old she is. My soul has no idea how old she is. And my soul is distinct from my physical body. So my physical body is 54, about to turn 55. And I guess grappling with that a bit, but made much easier by this realization that there's a part of me that has no age and never will have any age. And so I just want to thank this woman from Zephyr Hills, Florida, who is my age, for just helping me consolidate that in my mind. I think that's something this entire age group would do well to get to that stage. It's taken me a very long time and a lot of terrible health anxiety and a lot of dithering and worrying and things like that. So I just want to say thank you for saying you're a 55-year-old woman. I'm almost a 55-year-old woman, double nickels. Okay, so she's been postmenopausal for about 10 years. Long story short, she was happy with testosterone and progesterone for most of that time. She started adding estrogen, and that only worked for about a year. And then she started spotting. She spotted, okay, I have to stop. My mom had endometriosis, and my brother and I both, the word spotting, it was just like dun dun dun, where we just hear my mom say to my dad, I'm spotting again. And so spotting to me is just like the worst thing. But I also know that when you're postmenopausal, it is the worst thing. I've had bleeding twice since I've been postmenopausal. It's absolutely terrifying. One was when I started using vaginal estrogen. They don't tell you that. And the other was when I took maca. And that took a huge investigation. And that's something I'm going to talk about another time when I do a deep dive into my own experiment with hormones. So anyway, spotting is very alarming. I get it. I spotted for the next 2 years on and off, no matter what adjustment we made. No matter what adjustment we made, not only dosing, but different types of hormone delivery. She's trying everything over 2 years. I can't remember which podcast of yours I listened to that finally made me realize I will be fine without estrogen, especially because I take care of myself in so many other ways. But I feel like that was my sign that I would be okay to discontinue it. And so I did. Now, I want to stop here and say I'm a journalist, not a doctor. I obviously don't give medical advice. And it says that all over my podcasts and my newsletters. But I have seen so many women on this hormone merry-go-round that this person has been on and just trying and trying and trying. And I think you would need to have a special kind of doctor to say, I think this isn't really for you. And certainly on social media, you're not going to find very many people who are going to say, yeah, you don't need to take hormone therapy. When I say, I don't think I need to take hormone therapy if I don't need it to help my symptoms, I'm basing that on a whole bunch of common sense, a whole bunch of history, and the specialists that are on my expert panel and the research. Hormone therapy has only been around for about 100 years, and it's a decision you have to make. If you want to listen to everyone else to say the only way to get old is to replace the estrogen in your body, then that's fine. That's if you want to listen to that. And you could feel amazing. And maybe next year or in 5 years, we're going to find out that it will prevent everything. But right now, as we know, no guiding body in the world recommends hormone therapy to prevent dementia and heart disease. The Lancet Commission on Dementia last summer looked at hormone therapy for the first time and did not recommend hormone therapy to prevent dementia. And the Women's Cardiology Committee, I'm publishing in the American Heart Association journal Circulation in 2023. And that committee includes endocrinologists, gynecologists, internists, and Stephanie Fabian, who is the medical director of the North American Medical Society. They came out in 2023 and said, we don't think it protects you from heart disease. And there's a whole bunch of nuances in there, but this is where we stand right now. And so those are all the things that come together when I say this. And I just want to have that caveat because no one should ever listen to me and then go and make a decision. But I do know in my own life where you get a permission slip when you hear someone else, when you have these thoughts in your own mind and you're making your own decision, you do gather information. And if I can help you with some information that's already out there and help you on the road to trusting yourself and to say, I don't want to keep going on this estrogen merry-go-round. And it's not very many women, but the women who are on it, it's very difficult. I have seen people on social media saying that they have been doing this for 9 years. I saw an influencer say she's had a 9-year journey to finding her hormone therapy dose. I'm like, no thanks. No, thank you. She says she wishes more women knew that sometimes estrogen is just not going to work for them and they will be okay. Listen to this. She says, I was biopsied for cancer 3 different times during those 2 years. And so I know it was just an imbalance of my hormones. And I was right. After I stopped the estrogen, I've completely stopped spotting, and I'm so much happier, to be honest. That's not what you're hearing. That's not what you're hearing. You don't hear these stories from the menopause. I'm bringing you these stories. They're not popular, but they're happening. And so I just want to say, I am so glad that you chose you and you got off the merry-go-round and you've stopped spotting. Clearly, it doesn't work for everyone, and everyone doesn't want to take it. And when I sit down and talk about this, you're going to hear it doesn't work for me either. I'm spoiler alert. Okay. And then she said, more recently, you've been a doctor on who talked about high iron levels in postmenopausal women. That was me, and actually still is me, but it seems to be a complete mystery to all of my doctors as to why that was happening to me. And the doctor you interviewed made it seem like it would be a natural thing to build up iron if we weren't menstruating. Anyway, I decided I will start donating blood on a regular basis to help offset that iron buildup. So thank you again for doing what you do. I am also going to start donating blood. So thank you very much, Zephyr Hills, Florida. I am so happy to hear someone just say, come on. And this happens a lot in our lives. And we need sometimes just that sister who will be like, because if you have friends on hormone therapy and you're having trouble with hormone therapy, you're not going to get like an actual clear answer. We've been experiencing this through our entire life. If your friend is doing something and you try to talk to her about how you don't want to do it, like it takes a really good friend to be like, you do you. Like it's very hard for friends to differentiate from the thing they're doing that works for them when their friend is saying, I don't want to do that. I feel like that causes problems in all but the very best friendships. So anyway, I'm glad to be here for you. If you're watching this podcast, you'll see I'm wearing this weird like device, and I know what I look like when I'm wearing it, okay? It's called a Happy, HAPBEE. I don't have a discount code for you yet, but I am working on getting one. I bought this device. It was $200. So I come across a ton of stuff, less now, but I do come across a ton of devices and gadgets and methods and preparations and supplements. And I have to be really judicious in what I spend my money on because this has been going on for a really long time now that I've been doing like wellness and lifestyle journalism. And so I was at the Future Wellness Summit in Dubai. The founder of this company got on stage for a panel. I was the MC for the day, and I was rolling my eyes at him because he had this ridiculous gadget around his neck. And he was talking about how he wants to get these on planes and he's working on a new design. He wants them to be in a hotel room. Basically, they don't reveal how they do it, but he says that they record the frequency of certain compounds, and then that's what's coming off of this. So it syncs to my phone, and I just put happy because I woke up a bit disgruntled. It was disgruntled about a few things that I have to sort out today that I didn't think I would have to sort out today. And I was rolling my eyes. I'm like, this is crazy. And then they had a booth right near, and they were the coolest people from California. Like they were all chill. And there was a really nice man there from Montreal who was working in the booth, and he said, just take it wear it till the end of the day. So I did. I wore it. I was one of the fools wearing this thing. Now, that day I go pretty hard. I have a lot of things on the go, and I can get into this state where I'm really tired and wired, and my brain's foggy. And I know what to do to get out of that state, but it takes time. And I shouldn't probably get in it, but I take on too much and I get in it. So I put it on and they gave me like a blend. So they gave me a blend of like THC and something else. And within about an hour, I felt it was crazy. Like this calm came over me. I went to have a bite to eat and I felt like creating some content, which is how I always know when I'm like balanced. And at the end of the day, I felt so good. I bought the damn thing. And so now I'm the fool walking around with this thing on my neck and I wear it in the coffee shop and I wear it wherever so that's a happy. I'll put that in the show notes too. I've started something new over on my Substack. Substack is where I publish content. I'm going to be publishing chapters of the book that I'm writing, which is tentatively called Perimenopause Game Plan, which is great for you if you're in perimenopause or if you're in before perimenopause, ideally. And then I publish other stuff. Like on Sunday, I did the alternative Oscars for midlife women and lots of other things. I have a weekend newsletter that I round up like menopause and midlife news and health stuff. And on Mondays, I've started with Marianne Jacobson, who runs Midlife Strong, who is so smart. She's a registered dietitian, but like an insane researcher. I have so much respect for her, and she's really fun. And she's like me, where we get obsessed about things and we have no one to talk to about it. So we go live on Mondays, 7 a.m. Pacific time. You're going to have to work it out from the rest of there because I am brutal at time zones, but we're having a lot of fun. We're talking about just like the topics of the day. And yesterday we talked about, I'm recording this on Tuesday. Yesterday we talked about her colonoscopy that was coming up. We talked about getting your hair cut. We talked about Dr. Jen Gunter's latest piece where she again sharply criticizes the M Factor documentary that's been screened in so many countries and so many places, and a claim on there about 30% of women lose a tooth in the first 5 years of menopause. And Dr. Jen Gunter could not find the original source. And we talked about how these things are said and permeated throughout the menosphere. We talked about an upcoming piece she's writing. And if you don't follow her and you know what I'm talking about, just go to substack.com. She's at Midlife Strong. She is doing a piece on something she says no one is talking about, which is heart disease presents so much differently in women. And it's about our micro vessels. It's not the big arteries and the blockages. And we can actually go to the hospital with chest pain and be sent home because the scan won't turn up anything. And she just wants more women to know about this. She wants to talk about it more. And I just respect her so much. And then we just talked about a bunch of other stuff. So we're getting like people tuning in, and we're one of the only midlife shows on Substack, I would say. And I would like you to come over there and listen. It would be great. Something I've also realized lately, and that's that I just don't like some things. And I just don't like some people. And when I was taking care of my little angel baby niece when she was a toddler, and I would make her some food and she didn't like it, she would just say, I don't like it. And I remember her saying for the first time, I don't like it. And thinking, look at the way she just says, I don't like it. Like at that point, I would eat the grossest of food and say, I do like it. I would go to things I didn't like. I would hang out with people I didn't like. I would lie to myself constantly. I liked everything and I liked everyone. And it was very hard on me in my life. And I think it's part of the conditioning women get that we have to be super agreeable. And I thank menopause and I thank the departure of the estrogen levels that I had for me being able to say, I don't like it. I don't like that. I don't like that person. I might have to deal with them, but I'm not really for me. I don't really enjoy this endeavor. I don't really enjoy that endeavor. And I've just been able to say that lately, and it's been revelatory, like absolutely revelatory. So why don't you just this week, just think of one thing you do that you don't like doing and see if you can do less of it. I don't know. I'm no Mel Robbins, you guys, but I just feel like if I don't like it, why don't I stop doing it? And if I don't like them, why pretend? Just ease away. And I'm going to wrap up with a little story for you. So I was sick as a dog with the flu that everyone has a couple of weeks ago. I did okay. I was so sick for so long. I thought it was COVID. I lost my sense of smell. I've never been so phlegmy, not that you want to hear about it, but it was like critical levels of just just brutal. So I was laying on my couch, just, oh, what is going on? And I heard this kerfuffle in the corner of my living room. That was my mom's favorite word, kerfuffle. I love it. Just a brouhaha over there. And I went to look, and it's a little teensy tiny bird, so small. I've never seen this bird before. And my cat, of course, has got it cornered and is taunting it. And I'm like, oh my God. So it was so small. I got a book and a little cup and got it under the cup. And I took it out on the balcony. I'm like, please don't be messed up. Like, I just want to. So I live on the 8th floor, and I went out on my balcony and I took the cup away and I held the book, and the bird was just on the book, standing there for a minute, and then they just took off. And I was like, oh, I'm really glad I don't have to deal with a sick bird today. I've had a lot of drama with birds on this balcony, 8th floor situations. So about 10 minutes later, I'm still laying on the couch, just thinking like, oh, why am I so sick? And I'm not kidding, like at least 4 of those birds came back, if not 5. It felt like I was in one of those Disney movies where all the birds come and lift up her skirt. They were singing and they were flying around just the balcony, circling, coming near the window. It was completely bizarre, but like absolutely beautiful. And I was staring at them and I was like, what are you guys doing? What is this? What's going on? And I think that honestly, please don't think I'm crazy. I think those birds came back to thank me for saving their friend. I think that's what happened. I've seen a video on TikTok where someone unraveled a deer out of like a hockey net and then looked out on their front lawn, and all the deer had come to just come and say thank you. And that's what I think happened with the bird. Anyway, the reason I tell you that story is yesterday I got up and my cat was meowing and acting crazy. And I have this crazy like carpet from Morocco, and it's got all these different colors. And she was like in the middle of it. And I went over and there was another one of those tiny birds that was not alive. And so I said to my cat, wow, good for you. Good job. And it was hilarious and it was really sad. And it made me think sometimes you can do something and sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's a way you can help, and sometimes there's nothing you can do, and you just have to pick the bird up with a big wad of toilet paper and put it in the garbage. I hope I'm not making too much of that story. I will swear that they came to say thank you. They didn't come and say thank you after that, and I don't think they'll be back, but that's okay. I did my best. I hope you do your best this week to get through the week. Thank you so much for the beautiful souls that have written, because that's really encouraging to me. I do a lot of work alone, and it's really lovely to hear that I'm not just blathering into the ether. Yeah, I love this platform, and I love all the people I hear from, and just keep doing the work of listening to who you really are, because it's a quiet knowing. And it takes time to get there, and I'm still working on it, but it is really beautiful. It doesn't feel anxious. It feels lovely. And I do believe it's one of the great gifts of menopause. Okay. Love you lots. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Hot Flash Inc. was created and is hosted by Anne Marie McQueen, produced and edited by Sonia Mack. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem, i.e. menopause or anything else, or any healthcare questions, please promptly see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Anne Marie McQueen and any producers or editors, disclaim any responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of any information contained herein. Opinions of guests on this podcast are their own, and the podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about a guest's qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. This podcast is owned by Hot Flash Inc. Media.